Well, here we are again, people of Earth. We got cut off during my readings of 6th of July 2024, which I've now titled Dancing Debrief 6th of July 2024, since I hadn't got into my readings yet. And I got cut off just when I was saying, I was in, my deep passion in the throes of Dancing to Zombie by the Cranberries, which is my song of wild determination, of freedom, of courage, of defiance and rebellion, and literally my war cry. And there's a couple of songs that I have as war cries from my warrior goddess, but that is the one that is guaranteed to see me come out in all my most joyous, most triumphant creative expression. And looks a little bit crazy to the uninitiated, by the way, but I don't care. I had a fabulous time. The other thing I wanted to talk about last night during the dancing was about halfway through the night, a young, very, very, very pretty young woman, and probably in her early 30s, walked over to me and held her hand out, and I nodded and took her hand. And she said, "I've come over, I feel inspired to tell you that you look so beautiful tonight." And I looked at her, I said, oh, thank you very much, my darling. She said, yes, she says, I'm here with my friend, and she pointed to a young gentleman of her age group, and he nodded, and she said, and I told him, I said, that lady over there is just so beautiful. And he said, you should tell her. Wasn't that kind and delightful and sweet? And so I nodded to the gentleman, the young gentleman. He nodded back, and I looked into her eyes and I said, oh, thank you, my darling. I said, that is really gorgeous of you to do that and to come and tell me that. And I do appreciate, that sweetness. I really do, by the way. Old Mama T running around in the night, dancing her wild dance, pushing all her energy reservoirs to the last degree, very rarely feels beautiful. Mostly I just feel kind of, ridiculous, or sometimes almost bordering on a psychosis or a fugue state at times. And but rarely do I feel beautiful. But I have to say, I was actually feeling beautiful last night, and I was feeling loved and valued and cherished. Like, as I said, from the very beginning of the night, Ness coming and hugging me, and the staff at the bar being so gorgeous to me and so sweet, and Juddy handing me this very heavy electric guitar, which I didn't realise how heavy they are. I had no idea. Just shows you see? I'm learning on my feet. And saying, you can play it if you want, because it makes no sound because it has to be plugged in. But I was fiddling with the strings. Anyway, and I was feeling so soul-nourished and so welcome and so very much loved that indeed I was blooming, like as I described when I wrote about it on Facebook this morning, like a queen of the night cactus that only blooms once a year, or I think in those cases they only bloom once every 10 years. But anyway, there you go. My subconscious remembers what happened the last time I bloomed like that. I ended up in a very toxic, unhealthy love bite, psychic vampire relationship. So we won't be repeating that history. No. The next time Mama T blooms like that, may the gods bless and endow and benefit me with a true deep love that is for me, mine, and choosing me of their own heart, mind, body, spirit, soul. Soul belongs to God, of course, but you know, a true loving, kind, romantic, passionate, loyal, faithful love partnership that is real and mine, and I'm his, not in a possessive or controlling or weird way, but an equal, and something really beautiful this time because I haven't bloomed like this. And my friends in the band know that's true. I haven't bloomed like this in a long, long time, babies. And I'm just so delighted. And it was beautiful that that young woman obviously could see the energy in my dance or in my expression, or I don't know what she actually saw, but to come over and take my hand and hold my hand. I had her hand in mine, but I was running my thumb across the back of her palm, like in a very intimate, mothering, loving acknowledgement of her. And it was so, I want to cry. It was just a sweetness and such a beautiful thing, you know. I was astonished. I'm just looking at her like, oh, how delightful. But every now and then you get that at the Brooklyn Standard. I'll get, you know, sometimes usually a woman come up and say, oh, I so admire you, or you're so beautiful. Or one woman came up to me months ago and said, I felt inspired, I saw you from across the room. Actually, this young lass, that was her opening gambit too. I felt inspired to come and tell you I saw you from across the room. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Very gorgeous. But anyway, this other young lass had said the same thing, and then she said, I want to hug you. She hugged me, and I remember at that point in time I was sitting down and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What's going on here? And so we hugged, and then as we hugged, the hug deepened and became more like a soul connection of real agape, protective, honouring love, and we were like holding on. And she actually cried when we drew apart. She left in tears of emotion. So, you know, honestly, I have my wild and quirky and weird ways, and I can be like a Sabra cactus putting out little prickles and thorns and saying, don't come near me, don't come near me, don't engage with me, I'm not in a good space today, I'm prickly as a Sabra. And there's other times like last night, here we go, where I just bloom in my own power as a spirit and as a woman and as a shaman and a Jew and a witch and a Viking. And I just, yeah, it was magic. Oh, it was magical, and it was beautiful, and it was gorgeous. And there was another younger couple that came to sit with me, and they were very sweet too. And Rhea and Harry, must remember their names because I'm sure they'll come along again. I told them I'm there every Friday night. They were a lovely couple too, and looking at me a bit in astonishment. I said, I'm talking to you now because we're in the break, but I said, please don't think I'm rude, but as soon as the band starts, I get up and I dance. And I said, I've been supporting these bands, you know, for 14 years, so I really just come to do the dance. And I said, I make a decade of myself every weekend and have been doing that for 14 years. So, you know, I must be really good at being a dickhead by now. But I said, however, I enjoy it. I love my dancing. And so I'm not trying to, you know, ignore you. But you're welcome to join in the dance with me if you like. And so they didn't join me in the dance actually, but that particular couple, but they observed. And then when I was leaving, I was going up the stairs and I was saying goodbye to Al, one of the bartenders there, and Ria and her husband Harry came past and kissed my cheeks. So, you know, I was suffused with so much love and affection last night, and it was gorgeous. So thank you to those beautiful souls that came to, you know, acknowledge me and with kindness and sweetness. And thank you, as always, to the Brooklyn Standard. And thank you, as always, to Ramjet, and on the other Friday nights, Alter Egos. And an even huger thank you to the gods, the Holy One, and all manifestations of holiness, of love, light, truth, emanation, of bliss, of joy, of vivacity, of the dance. And thank you also to the Tanya, who courageously and intrepidly pushes herself out, sometimes even when she hasn't been well. I wasn't all that well yesterday because I'd had the night before, Thursday night. Yes, Thursday night it was. I started it on the night of the 4th, 5th of July. My CPAP machine device, and so yesterday I was dizzy and I was floaty and I was in and out of my body, and I actually worried I was going to have a fucking stroke, to be honest, at one point. But again, I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed myself, and, you know, polished up and patinaed jewellery and kept busy with that, and then went and did my, you know, cleaned my fish pond filter, and yeah, made a video. And so I was pushing and pushing, and then as the night wore on, my energy seemed to get better. After around about 4 o'clock, I stopped feeling quite so woozy and weird, and then I thought, well, if I feel good enough, you know, to go out dancing by 10 o'clock, I'll go, and if I feel still a bit woozy and fucking weird, I'll just stay the fuck home, right? But by, you know, I usually gauge it around about 7 to 8 p.m. how I feel, if I feel well enough. Most Friday nights I feel well enough by then. And so on goes the makeup and, you know, the dress up, and off we go, right? So thank you to the Tanya for being a Mustang Quay and pushing herself, because had I not pushed myself out last night, I would not have had the sublime joy of such a gorgeous time out dancing for and with Ramjet at the Brooklyn Standard, and all these sweet little encounters with sweet people who see me, and I so value and appreciate that, you know, I really do. So we continue on now today with Charlie. She's sitting on, this is where she's decided to sit. It makes it hard to read the screen. The tail gets in the way. What do I care? It'll be happy. But we continue on with today's readings of even date, the 6th of July, 2024. And let's see what magic I've woven in with my wordsmithing today, if any. Some days are more powerful and more magical than others, and some days are just a bit blah and a bit mundane, but that too is a life. You got to ride with the dragons, fly high with the eagles. Sometimes you just need to shovel lorikeet shit off your laptop, and that too is a mundanity that is a necessary evil of being trapped in a physical form. Am I right, Charlie? She says, yes, Mummy. Yes, I know. The poopykins will keep happening. Look at her. Tell the people how the poopykins will keep happening, Charlie. Say hello to the people of Earth. Say hello. Say hello. I love you. I love you, pretty bird. I love you, pretty bird. Bobo's not dead, darling. Bobo. Oh, it's killing me. She keeps saying Bobo. Bobo's in Valhalla or heaven or Nirvana or wherever good doggies go. And he's not allowed to call you home yet, okay? So as much as we love to Bobo, he's not going to come for my birdie just yet. I have spoken before all the gods. Mummy cannot bear losing yet another pet. She hasn't been very well last week, so it was a bit fucking touch and go, quite frankly. And come to Mama? Yes. You just stick with Mama a bit longer, okay, baby girl? I need you to be with Mama. Yes, I know. I don't really have a say in it, you know. This is it. When the angel of death comes calling, you don't have a lot of fucking say in it at all. I know! But on the other hand, let us rejoice in today's readings are titled Defiance. And I have fought back. Actually, I haven't fought her that hard. Sometimes I've bombarded with her for fucking days and weeks. But I have fought alongside Lady Death more times than the average human, which is why I'm a shaman. So literally fucking chosen by the gods for this strange existence. This thing, this monstrosity, they even put it in a museum in Switzerland, so proud of their scientific malfeasance they were and are, the evil dirty dogs. I'm not showing enough anger, let me show a bit more. But anyway, anger can be a cleansing, purifying thing when you're a shaman. You've defied death for as long as I have. But we don't defy death, do we, Charlie? We just nod politely from the corner of the room and we do a very intimate, erotic kind of dance with her sometimes, and then she either twirls me back to life, which she often does, or she just sits and rides shotgun with me for a while, waiting to see what I do next. Doesn't she, Charlie? She's one of my longest and most loyal and most determined friends, because she knows at the end of the day, all night, she'll come for me at the appropriate time, ordained by the gods. Wasn't allowed to even have my own say in that matter, or choices, by the way. It's a bit astonishing, people of Earth. It's a bit astonishing how I have been kept here on this planet, sometimes against my own will. Even in childhood, there were quite a few events where should not technically have survived. But here we have that ignoble fucking thing. Here we have that. I can't believe I was kept on earth for these times to look at that thing, that creation. It's bizarre, isn't it? But I want to inspire you. We, the people, we humans of heart, corazon, courage, resilience, determination, love, we can and will survive anything and everything. Pardon me, the globalist, psychopathic elites vomit at us. We can and will survive it, and when we don't, let it be, because we went down fighting. Another woman came to dance near me and was talking to Rhea and Harry actually, And she was getting all impassioned and telling them that there's no future for their children, we're all doomed as a species, which kind of, it's not an untruth, it's a reality we can own. I mean, my progeny have been denied me, so there are no grandchildren for me to look forward to, so my line stops with me now, stops with my daughters. So I'm listening to her telling this couple, who were happy-go-lucky, all these very dark thoughts, which they're not lies. They're real truths for some of us. For some of us, that gift from our global leaders, who we're all in lockstep, by the way, so malevolent and evil they were, that gifted to us has denied us any real kind of future or progeny in many of our cases. So she was an older woman, younger than me, probably in her late 40s, early 50s, but younger. But she's, in the moment with the darkness suffused in it. And I just nodded to her because I understand her completely. I'm living that dreaming too, that I wish was not our reality, but we're all living it. Am I right? So I turned to her and I said to her, you're completely correct, but let us not focus on that. What do you mean? She said. I said, tonight we fight. How do we fight? She says. Oh, it was delightful. My true shamanistic tendencies came out. I said, tonight we fight. The other couple turned and looked at me. How do we fight? I said, we fight by spreading joy, not oi. And Ria and Harry burst into laughter. I wasn't making fun of the situation. It was perfectly serious, actually. Anyway, the other woman looked at me and nodded, said, do you understand? We fight with everything we have by being joyful. It is the ultimate defiance and triumph and self-determination that we have left, and it doesn't cost a thing. Well, maybe a few Jack Daniels and, the club's paying for the bands to supply music for us, but in the broad scheme of things, we can build up that joy from deep within the resources of our bowels and purge it out through our body and light everyone the fuck up. Even though we know we're living in a dystopian world, and she's correct, the future does indeed look bleak, and I do fear for our children. I do. And our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. Those of us who were gifted by the gods to have progeny. I agree with her. There's a lot to be fearful. But we will focus on the eternal now, and we will spread joy, not oi, and we will love our children as our most precious gifts and our future, because ultimately the future is not ours but theirs and belongs to them, and they too, as they grow into their adult forms, will have to survive and maybe even thrive, and always and forever calibrate their inner resources of joy and courage and self-determination and resilience and love. Anyway, she got at the woman. She looked at me and went, oh. And then a bit later she came and danced with me. We were dancing to that song, Miley Cyrus. I buy my own flowers and I write my name in the sand, and I think it's called Flowers. And I hold my own hand and I dance my own dance, and we held each other and we looked into it. She said, "This is our song." And I said, "Okay, baby girl, this is our song." I don't really want to live in that consciousness for much longer. I don't really want to be holding my own hand and buying myself my own flowers, although I grow my own flowers for that very reason, that I never have to rely on a man to provide me anything like that, because I don't want to be owned and manipulated and controlled. But it's perfectly lovely when a man buys you flowers or gives you beautiful gifts, if it's heartfelt and genuine without agendas or seediness or control dramas or ownership. You know, when a man loves you, he just wants to do lovely things for you. Like the time early in my friendship with Jared, which our friendship never bloomed into a love affair or sexual partnership, but we had a deep love for each other. And we were walking along one day through somewhere in Cleveland, I think it was, somewhere where there was some kind of gardens, or I don't know where we were, but anyway, he just reached up and plucked a rose and handed it to me, so almost romantically and heartfelt, that if I didn't know better, I could have mistaken that for he was, in love with me, but he was never in love with me that way. Let's get this right here. But it was just so sweet. I've never forgotten it, the way he presented me this rose, and my heart just cascaded like a fountain of deep delight and joy, because he was a beautiful young man and he was such a good friend to me. And I'd had so much ugliness. By the way, my husband used to buy me beautiful bouquets of flowers for our wedding anniversary, and he bought the flowers for our wedding, the most beautiful orchids. Like, yes, he used to buy me flowers, and they were exquisite flowers and expensive, by the way. They didn't mean shit. They meant nothing. Why did they mean nothing? Because he wasn't genuine or heartfelt. It was just, playing the part or doing the expected thing or making himself look good or saying, "Oh, look, I bought my wife flowers." And then he would tell me for some of my anniversaries, "Oh, yeah, I got these on discount. Yeah, I swapped chickens with the florist for the flowers." And I'd think, "You cheap cunt. Like, you don't need to tell me that. I know it anyway." I know he was a cheap arsehole. But, he kind of, "Here's a beautiful bouquet of flowers, but now I'm going to turn them to shit right in front of your eyes and make them ugly and worthless." He used to do shit like that. This is why when I left that marriage, I said to myself, I will never rely on a man to buy me flowers. I will never rely on a man to give me gifts. I will never rely on a man to look after me. After 3 strangulations, I couldn't trust them to look after me anyway, quite frankly. Instead of looking after me, they were consistently trying to fucking literally take the breath right out of my throat and destroy me in every aspect of my being. So I made my mind up. I grew my own exquisite roses, and I grow my own orchids, and I have my own edible landscape and my own beautiful black bamboo, and I have my own little resort here, and I don't need a man for anything. I want one. I want one that truly, deeply loves me, but I don't actually need anyone, man, woman, or child. And I've made that a lifetime practice to not need anyone, because needing someone puts me in a one up, one down situation where I'm vulnerable to being fucking crushed by the giant fucking jackboot of fate that men have consistently delivered over the decades. Ironically, often Jewish lovers like to stomp me with that jackboot and that master-slave fucked up dynamic. Anyway, so we were dancing, this woman and I, to this beautiful Miley Cyrus, you know, buy my own flowers and hold my own hand, and we held each other and this is my song, okay, this is your song. We played it a lot. You know, it's a fucking tragedy. It's a fucking tragedy and a travesty that women of my age group are having to identify with that level of disarray and declension and despotic despair because of abusers, actually. Abusers. So anyway, there was no abuse going on last night at the Brooklyn Standard, and I was deeply cherished and, as I say, protected by my friend Juddy of Ramjet when the young man was just getting a little bit too overly familiar with me. He hadn't actually done anything wrong per se, but just getting a little bit too passionate. What have you done, Charlie? You've flicked off the thing, and now, oh dear goddess, I'll have to navigate back to the page. Oh, it wasn't you. We got kicked. No, I was blaming you, but it's not you. We got kicked off the internet. Oh, for the love of all the gods. Like, what the fuck? Excuse me, but that annoys me when I'm in the middle of something. Far out. How am I going to do this? I usually have to shut down and start from scratch too. Oh. All right, where are we? We're 31 minutes, so won't take too long. Let me think. What else happened? We're still talking about the wild dance last night. What else happened? Can't think now. I've basically said it all. I've gone into the void because I'm so annoyed about my computer shutting down. Oh, Mama was blaming you, Charlie, with your little birdie num feet on the laptop, and it wasn't even you, Charlie. Mama. So yes, I observed when the young man came to dance beside me, and then I turned to face him. We were dancing facing each other. I observed the bartender Erin, who's also very generous and sweet and loving to me. She was walking up the stairs, and I thought she'd turn, and she was watching me like a bit concerned, worried about me too. So yes, I'm very, very cherished and honoured and protected in that dance space at the Brooklyn Standard, and you know, I'm very, very grateful to you all. I really am truly grateful, and as I said, the magic just happened last night. Sometimes some nights are like that. It's just everything just unfurls and then just keeps blooming and building beautifully, and it was just one of those nights. Elle told me at the end of the night, when as I was leaving, that it had been actually a very busy night. She said the last 2 Fridays were quiet. I said, oh, hadn't noticed that so much. But I guess, yes, thinking about it, it did seem quieter last Friday night. So, yeah, there you have it. It's like even, you know, businesses, the clientele, it all just ebb and flow from time to time. I used to have that in my own business many, many years ago when I owned Chicken Express, chicken takeaway, food shop. How some nights would be incredibly busy, and then other nights that were traditionally quiet nights, like Monday, Tuesday, would be astonishingly busy, which was out of character, and then the busier nights would be quieter. It's like kind of like swallow murmurations, almost like the collective moves strange little swirling dances of their own. Am I right? Right, here we go. We've got to navigate back because the fucking internet. Why the fuck does that keep throwing me off? I pay a lot of money for the service, by the way. It drives me nuts. I have every now and then I have tantrums with Optus, but really it should not be kicking me off. We haven't even been on that long, like maybe an hour. This is my second video. Remind me to breathe, people of Earth. Say breathe, Tanya. Breathe. Now I've got the CPAP mask. I've got the full mask. I didn't really want the full mask because I had the option of a pillow going under the nose. But I have a habit of mouth breathing, especially when I'm stressed, which is a very bad fucking habit, by the way. So now I've got the mask on at night, the last 2 nights. I'm practicing nose breathing with it at least until I fall asleep, and then what happens when I'm asleep is not under my control, by the way. But yeah, I was lying there for about half an hour waiting to drift off to sleep. Didn't go to bed until about 3, so it's probably 3:30 before I slept. And I was like practicing very hard nose breathing. And yeah, and then the machine logged that I used it for 3 hours and 55 minutes, so almost 4 hours. But yeah, I took it off after 4 hours because I had to get up to pee for the second time. And I just thought, oh, I'm not going to be asleep for much longer. There's no point putting the mask on. But I was wrong, actually. I slept for another 3 hours, so I should have kept the mask on. But I just, had it for 4 hours and just needed a break, I guess. But I won't be doing that. I've got to adjust, and I've got to keep that bloody thing on my face, and I've got to tolerate it all night long. And if Mama T can dance wildly and shamanically all night long, and be gorgeous and even admired by beautiful young women with their sweetness, then Mama T can endure that mask all night long, because if I can get my health back to optimum level, my optimum, which is way below everyone else's optimum, by the way, because of my CPTSD issues, but if I can get my physical health where I'm sleeping every night and dreaming again, and well, I still often dream, but having more cognitive, powerful dreaming like I used to have, and stay in that kind of magical, powerful flow. A healthy Tanya, a healthy, vigorous Tanya can then invite a beautiful man into my existence. Am I right? And this is my chance. This is my probably last chance to achieve all of those things. If I don't get it right this time, I'm just gonna, I won't be here. I'll be spiraling under, and I just won't be here. I'm telling you that now. And by the way, my psychiatrist is well aware of that. He's seen me flounder around like this for 14 fucking years and fight my way back from really awful, awful, awful people and awful events and awful systemic abuse. And did I mention awful? And I know, he just wants me to get well, and he wants me to win and have my beautiful life at last. So to you, Brian, for being my earth angel, one of my most powerful earth angels I've had on this planet. You and Sally Castle and Lynn Sloan and Jared Nielsen, and from my Jewish community, my former Jewish community, John Bradley and Gordon Senator, people who had my back and inspired and protected me, even John with his beautiful amulets he hand created for me as art forms, by the way. to you, John, and Gordon, who gave me very sensible advice and bade me stay in Brisbane, Australia, and not go off half-cocked to Israel under peer group pressure, thinking I might find a partner over there or have some semblance of a better life. Kept me here safe in this fucking holding pattern, in this gigantic but beautiful open-air prison, and kind of a hellscape for me most of the time. But here we are, re-emerging into my version of paradise. Paradise, let's be real here, being a code name that the German soldiers or the Nazi soldiers referred to the Eastern Front in Russia. Postcard written to my mother. Next week we're going to paradise. It was guaranteed fucking death. So I say that word, welcome to paradise, very darkly and tongue-in-cheek, because although I live in a beautiful, aromatic, sunny, often too fucking hot these days, country, what I've endured in peacetime in this country has not been nice or kind or acceptable or even decent at all. But with the help of my worthy friends and doctors, I've fought my way through it. So when you see me, you know, in clubs and venues and dance spaces, doing my wild, crazy self-expression to Zombie, it's completely heartfelt and authentic, by the way. I'm saying no. I'm saying no to the traditional abusers that no doubt are still out there in the Brisbane community, my enemies, and they always underestimate the Tanya and the power and determination of my doctors and friends to keep me here alive in this moment in time, in the space-time continuum. Am I right? I'm right. Right, we're back. I've navigated back. Oh, dear goddess. How long did that take me to navigate back? Too long. It's driving me nuts, people of Earth. Thank you for bearing with me, though. I value you who bear witness to my life histories and my life experiences, and can be very confronting and depressing at times, especially for me who had to live through it, but for those who had to fight alongside with me and sometimes drag me through, even at times literally by my hair, by my hair, or by the hair on my chinny chin chin. Right, here we go. I wrote a lovely thing on Facebook about Ramjet in the club last night, but I haven't copied it across to today's date, so I haven't done that yet. But I've already spent 2 videos telling you about how wonderful last night is, so that truth has already been presented. So we'll begin today's readings from last year, 1 year ago, 6th of July, 2023. I had a bad night last night, up all night sloshing my bladder with the vigour and stamina of a racehorse. Not cool, not funny either. I found sleep a mission improbable until after 8 a.m. when I finally succumbed. I woke up at 10 minutes, to 1. Wow. I got up, took a shower, dressed, then sat outside with Charlie and Beauregard, listening to Linda Moulton Howe and Russell Brand podcasts. You going to do a poo, Charlie? But I soon became restless, and as rain seemed to be threatening, with black clouds everywhere, although it was 20 degrees Celsius today, so it felt quite humid. I hurried to take the dog and bird for a walk. Oh, my little baby, why are you biting Mama? That's not kind. Did I bite you? No, I did not. We stopped to play with Rosie, who's my friend's Labrador, who was as usual delighted to see us, then carried on with our walk, visiting Blue Boy and also Miss Coco. Peter told me all about the Australian team winning the cricket. I let him explain the game in minutiae as it seemed to make him happy, whilst Miss Coco looked deeply into my eyes as I held her in my arms, quietly giggling, as she knows I could not give a flying fuck about sport, but I was being a good sport, letting him indulge in the gameplay. Hilarious. This is what you do for your friends, by the way. You know, if they have a hobby that interests them, they get terribly excited. And even though it's like right over my head and in the broad scheme of things means absolutely nothing to me, I was indulging him because he was just so happy and excited to tell me all about all the various cricket players and all their various handicaps or achievements or whatever it was, and I'm just like nodding politely but metaphorically backing my way to the wall because Mama T's never been fond of sports, has she, Charlie? Smoochy bird. I got home and was visited by a hard broiling hunger. Rah, rah. Rainbow lorikeet, delicious, nutritious, tastes just like chicken. I tease her like that sometimes. I know I would never eat you, my goodness. You is my baby. One simply does not eat one's own babies. However, we won't think about the millions of chickens I've eaten over my lifetime. Chickens, by the way, I've had them as pets, are the most wonderful birds. We underestimate all of our featherkin. But Mama still is a meat eater, and yes, I do eat chicken, but I don't eat rainbow lorikeets, Charlie. No. I reckon you'd be a bit stringy on it anyway. She's just about going to sleep. Look at her. Can you see her? Look at you. What are you doing, little bird? Anyway, where were we? I got home and was visited by hard broiling hunger. It was not quite 5 p.m. I cooked up 2 chicken schnitzels and rice and devoured them Viking berserker style. It's 6:07 p.m. right now, and my spirit is still asking for more food. Arg. I know. Sometimes Mummy eats a lot. Actually, most of the time I eat a lot. But anyway. But I'm holding off as I enjoyed my meal very much. But I need to save food for tomorrow. And in fact, the next few days, as I don't get paid until Tuesday. Well, that sucks balls, doesn't it, Charlie? When Mummy has to, meagerly pass out the food. Oh, dear goddess. Maybe that's what I need a man for. Put food on my table, am I right? Stock my fridge. Give me lots of delicious things to drink as well. Good food, full pantry. Do I need to sell my body and mind and heart and soul out for that luxury? Because I did it. It was called marriage for 10.5 years. But I have to be fair. My husband, because it's a Jewish thing, we have a fear of privation and starvation, people of earth. We always had fully stocked fridge, a fully stocked pantry, and fully stocked freezers, and we wanted, never did we lack in food. I never ever went a day where I had to worry how I was going to feed myself and the kids until I left him, and he became savage and vicious, by the way, but there is that. But never before that did I ever have a hungry day in the 12 years I was with him. So he was an asshole on many, many multifarious levels, but he did not deny me food. Anyway, it would not have gone well for him. No one dares deny Mama T food when she's hungry. She goes to war, by the way. Like when there was hardly any food during the lockdowns, or when COVID first came out, people stockpiled toilet paper like fucking morons. And there was no meat, no cheap cuts of meat. In those days I was living on chicken, chicken and beef mince, which I still do because poverty, people. And that fucking idiot, what's his name? Let me think of his name. Oh, Joe Kelly, the Labour MP here, that moron that told me he had plenty of money out of that whole deal, animal. He was putting on Facebook at that point in time about, oh yeah, go and buy from Coles and Woolworths and there's plenty of food and don't panic. And I got angry and I wrote back, there's only very expensive cuts of steak and only the very wealthy can afford that. And the rest of us are being starved out already, I said. And if this continues, there will be riots. And he'd had an encounter with me before, some couple of years prior to that. He knew when I say there will be riots that I'll be the one to start the motherfucking ones, by the way. Caused me to be hungry one more day. And so, to be fair, he wrote back very quickly, oh no, Tanya, oh no, we can't have that. I'll go down immediately. I'll go and check out what's happening. I said, don't worry, I said, that German supermarket, Aldi, has plenty of food. So we won't be supporting Australian supermarkets that are already starving us out. Tell the people to go to Aldi where there was enough food for Mama T to feed herself, by the way. Oh, I enjoyed just shoving it right up him. But to be fair, he did go and check it out. And when he was trawling past my gate, he came under the guise of worrying about cost of living increases, which he's part of since he's a politician, am I right? They're all complicit, but then they want to run around and pretend that they're the good guys and they're doing something about it, while they're literally starving us out and increasing the energy and gas prices beyond, because they're mofos, Charlie. But happy thoughts, Charlie. You are still a very pretty bird, and Mama's still a very pretty mama, and we will spread joy and not oi as long as we're well fed and have filtered water, not indoctrinated for the last 10 years by PFOS plastics in our supply. Will you still love me when I'm 64, Charlie? She says, Mama, if the gods allow me to live so much longer, it's only really 5 years away. I'll still be loving you, Mama T. Okay, Charlie, if I'm still alive in 5 years, I'll still be loving you too. Oh. Stealing kisses from the mama. That was almost a nibble. Gotta watch her. Sometimes she bites me. Gotta watch the little cheeky bird. We're gonna watch the cheeky birdie. Right, where were we? Oh yes, worrying about spreading my meals out so that I have enough for 3 days because I didn't get paid till Tuesday. Living, you're getting excited now. Living my psychedelic dream, while constantly praying for truest, deepest, most loyal, faithful love and enough prosperity so that I can feed myself properly and have security for my older age. Really is a psychedelic dreamer's dream, babies. But we'll just keep spinning that on the disc jockeys, what do they call it? Where they spin the discs. Platform of life. Spinning in infinity, and let us say, hallelujah. Hallelujah, baby girl. Mama always has food for you though, Charlie. Always. It could happen, but at this late stage of life, it would take a miracle. 1 year ago, I wrote that. 1 fucking year ago. But I had a beautiful night last night, and I had 2 beautiful nights last weekend dancing for Alter Egos. So I'm soul nourished and grateful and happy, and I love you all. I love you all greatly. However, I am a very good manifester, and with the grace of the gods, miracles and magic truly does happen daily. Winky face. It truly does, babies. Attitude is everything. And being joyful and powerful in your own core reaps really quite unusual, magical results sometimes. Never ever letting the bastards grind us down, Charlie. As I said to that woman last night, spread joy, not oi. We fight by our wild dance and our music and our innate core of happiness. That when you can tap into it, you can tap into anywhere with anyone at any point in time in the space-time continuum, by the way. Right, you'll notice I'm wearing the same dress I wore yesterday. I do that in winter. I wear things 2 days in a row. If I haven't gotten sweaty, here's the lorikeets, Charlie. They're looking for you. If I haven't got all sweaty and dirty and my clothes are still clean, I wear them 2 days in a row. Although I'm clean, I've got clean underwear. I changed the underwear, but I'll wear the same dress or top and skirt sometimes. It saves on the constant feckin' washing. If it's not dirty, it doesn't need washing, does it? It's like, I don't do this in summer though, because in summer it's here in Brisbane, Australia, it's just too hot. You sweat too much and it's unsanitary to wear the same clothes 2 days in a row. I mean, you just wouldn't do it, would you? You know. Anyway, 6th of July. I know, I'm telling them all my secrets. Hello. That sounded like Bobo again. Bobo, you say, I love you, Bobo, but go back to the light, Bobo. You're not going with him, you're staying with Mama. My blood runs cold. He wouldn't come and take my birdie, would he, my beloved one? Oh, dear God. I'm grateful to both Lynn Sloan, this is in 2022, and Jackie Burns for your sweetness and staunch support of me today. I love you both. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Later I wrote, I'm being systemically culled. I know. I just received a phone call from my doctor's receptionist, 4 exclamation marks, to inform me that I need to have a PCR test before getting an appointment tomorrow morning for her to listen to my chest. One job. All she had to do was listen to my fucking chest with a stethoscope, right? Am I right? Anyway, I said, what do I need a PCR test for? I already gave you a negative rat test the other day, so you know I don't have COVID. The receptionist quavers and tells me that PCR will pick up other respiratory issues. I smell bullshit. I told her, so I'm being made to jump through hoops to access basic medical care now. Frankly, I would rather die. So no. I hung up. End of story. The decision has been made. My doctor knows that sending her receptionist to do her job would enrage me, so it's tantamount to killing me. She could not even take a proper scraping of the fucking fungus on my toe that she has refused to treat for over 3 fucking years. Had to treat it myself. I had to fight back from that fucking declension as well. What are we actually educating and paying these doctors to do, by the way? Since we have to heal our own selves? She handed me the scissors to do it myself, take my own scraping. The medication she recommended, Gardocrom, is no longer available at any chemist, so she's sending me on a wild goose chase as well. Oh, I was livid. I was really livid. Frankly, toe fungus is the least of my problems, but this is just one example of her negligence or lack of professionalism. How dare she and the medical establishment and vets discriminate against me when I do not and have never had COVID. Well, I didn't catch COVID till 2 years later, 2.5 years later, in October last year, 2023. So all that fucking discrimination based on, very likely, my unvaxxed status, am I right? For what? For fucking nothing. I didn't even have COVID, the dumbasses. Still, well, now I've been forever altered since I caught it in October. I mean, that little ball with its little spikes would have worked its fucking evil on me. But here I am, people of Earth, holding my own, spreading joy not oi, in spite of it all, still dancing my wild dance in the weekends and inspiring others to keep choosing life no matter what, no matter who, no matter how, where or when or if. Just keep choosing life. L'chaim. Here I write, also continuing on from that, about the discrimination. Imagine how actual COVID patients have been treated, ? For exclamation marks. Yes, it's a terrifying fucking thought. And I know if I'd ended up in that hospital with a very bad COVID infection or reaction to it, I would have been the first to get midazolined and barbiturated out, by the way, especially in view of my constant activism against that whole regime and my constant whistleblowing. I actually am terrified of going to hospital still here on the 6th of July 2024. It's part of the reason, apart from the systemic abuse at the QE2 hospital, that I rejected all future colonoscopies, by the way. And I'm being hounded recently to have a breast screen, mammogram done. I'm also ignoring that. I had it on good advice from a doctor at the ED department in January 2003 to not have any more CT scans or x-rays because of the radiation. It's dangerous for my already, weakened bladder. So them trying to propound me to have my boobs squish pop Cicero'd is all very fine and dandy, but I'm not subjecting myself to your radiation, babies. So there is that. Get enough radiation from my iPhone daily with my addiction to it and my video making and my constant Facebooking, YouTubing, Instagramming and living life in virtual reality, because I don't really have a life here all alone in my house without a loving partner or family or friends to be here visiting me often. So all that radiation. Then the smart meter, by the way, don't forget the smart meter. Then all the radiation coming off, my modems here near the computer and the TV. And I'm in a radiation fucking soup. So enough is enough. Certain things I'm drawing the line on. Anyway, here I write in big block letters: the only way for evil to flourish is when good people do nothing. Which we saw a lot of that during the height of the COVID insanity. A lot of good people turning a blind eye or choosing to do nothing. Imagine if there'd been more people like me having the courage to care and to dare to say no. Imagine. It's a strange world. It's a strange world I'm living in. But every day in every way, I'm choosing life, and courageously and defiantly still saying no when no is the only appropriate answer. And yes to life and to true, deep, abiding, loyal, faithful loves. And to doctors who are trying to save my life with the CPAP, even though I was not too keen on that, to be honest. And to continuously fighting for my self-determination in every way possible. Here I write: I'm still very ill today, but I am writhing in fury. Facebook has taken down the video from June 23 that was doctors and scientists meeting in Brisbane, speaking out about how they had all lost their careers due to our draconian COVID regime. One female anaesthetist wept bitter tears. These people have given their lives to save people's health, not to be driven out or censored for daring to say no to what is as obvious as the nose on our faces. These were well-educated specialists. They should have been supported and protected, actually, because they're scientists. They are real scientists and real doctors, not just ordinary people like me, These were professionals. Here I write: not your ordinary person on the street that is being jostled like a swallow murmuration. Funny I mentioned that earlier, that particular imagery. Not knowing which side of history to land on. I land on the side of truth. That is the only value in our toolboxes that will keep us thriving now. My GP has given me only one course of antibiotics for my long-standing lung issues that are not related to COVID. I have, not as of even date, even had COVID, so I have rung for another script, so I'm still coughing up yellow phlegm and still unwell. This is what we have now. Incompetence. They'd actually announced in the media at that point in time in 2022 that they'd run out of stocks of antibiotics. So they weren't just withholding it, they actually didn't have enough to go around. So they were deliberately leaving people like me with very bad lungs that I've had since the age of 4 to die. It was touch and go, by the way, whether I died or not. They have to wait until she comes to work to decide if I merit more antibiotics or not. Never has this been managed in this way before, just saying. My only remaining daughter is slipping away from me now. The truth is too much to carry. But I am probably fucking dying anyway, so I will take my truth with me. I will write it on the skies. I will send angels to whip the hides of every part of me. Demonic, infested, bloodless, cowardly cur. We have been poisoned since the 1940s, or even earlier. My grandfather, Erich Karl Fritz Meyer, my non-biological grandfather, by the way, but the man who raised my mother from birth, with mustard gas in the trenches in World War I. He wore thick bottleneck glasses, very thick glasses, because he was almost, without them, almost blind, as he lost his vision from the mustard gas in the trenches. And I'm fairly sure he lost his fertility too, which is how my mother came to be fathered by Anton Petula, her biological father. We were poisoned with Agent Orange in Vietnam, later Roundup, glyphosate, and after that GMOs, and now this current unleashing of an orchestrated hell on a global population for which we are unable to think clearly or fight back, as it is too big and too terrifying. Our few partisans, scientists and doctors, brave enough to speak out, are deregistered. We are now left with the lazy, the cowardly, the complacent and complicit. What the actual fuck? And then to discover a few weeks back, about a month ago, that there's been PFOS plastics in our water supply, our drinking water, for about a decade. That's 6 years before COVID even came along. It's in our drinking supply, we're showering in it, we're washing our clothes in it, we're immersed in it. So I had to rush out and buy a water filter, but ironically, intuitively, I've been saying to my psychiatrist for about the last 2-3 years, I said, you know what? I worry about our water supply, doctor. He just looked at me and nodded. If they don't cull us with this bioengineered warfare, they'll cull us, I really fear, through our water supply or through our air. So all those people that are deemed conspiracy theorists talking about chemtrails and the strange white powder landing on our plants, killing our plants. It's real, people of Earth, and you're not crazy and you're not imagining it. And like in any war, certain areas are particularly targeted. And how do I know this? As a second-generation survivor of World War II in Nazi Germany, my mother, raised in that regime, and my de facto stepfather, Case, who survived Mittelbau-Dora in Nordhausen, I know, we all know, it's historical fact that the industrialised neighbourhoods in Hamburg were blanket bombed and targeted by the Allies, the British and the Americans and the Anzacs too. They were targeted. My mother's entire neighbourhood, fortunately, she was billeted in the south of Germany at that time in charge of civilian orphans. But, she was ringing constantly, having precognitive dreams of bodies shrinking in the streets. So she was ringing her mother constantly saying, you've got to get out of that neighbourhood. You've got to get somewhere safe. I'm seeing bodies shrinking in the streets. And after it took some doing, some convincing, but after a while, my grandmother and my grandfather, soon as the bombing began earlier in that day, moved out into the outskirts of Hamburg and just slept out in the open field somewhere, while their neighbourhood was blanket bombed with phosphor bombs on a hot summer night. I think it was the 23rd of July in 1943, and it was saturated in phosphor bombs. And this is historical fact and is a war crime to this day because it was conducted on civilians. People burnt by the phosphor bombs, as my mother had seen in her vision, literally shrank to the size of 2 feet long, black charcoal, what looked like black charcoal shrunken dolls. That's what happened to the victims of that bombing. And the bitumen bubbled and frothed and rose and fell with the intense heat from the bombing. It was already hot from the summer, and that intense heat so people were trying to run and escape on bitumen that was literally writhing underneath their feet and boiling. People threw themselves into the River Elbe to save themselves, some of the people that survived. To this day, that whole neighbourhood is a park and was never allowed to be built on again as a memorial to that atrocity. So, what am I getting to here? War is hell. Human beings on both sides of war are capable of immense evil and atrocities. And we must fight every day in every way by speaking our truth and remembering what we are capable of, what has already been done to us as a species, and to create somehow, I don't know how, a future where we are all safe and loved and protected and, if necessary, defended with good healthy food and water supplies, by the way, and medical care where needed and appropriate, not being withheld out of spite or out of discrimination or out of just lackluster, elitist condescension and malfeasance. And build a paradigm for us all, for some kind of future for us all, people of Earth. every day in every way. Spread joy, not oi, in more ways than one, darlings. Hold your lines, cleave to your true beloveds, and dance. 6th of July 2021. Latest acquisition. Handmade sterling silver spoon by David Barrett. I accidentally bought this. It was kind of by accident, believe it or not, as I bid up by $1, and I did not expect to win it. Thank God for Afterpay, lol, that I was able to pay it off in installments. I was really furious with myself for making that kind of a financial mistake, which I normally don't do that kind of thing. I'm very cautious. But I decided it was an important lesson on being more careful when buying on auction sites. I decided it would be okay after initially freaking out for about half an hour. Well, it has arrived, and I do believe I in fact got a bit of a bargain, as the blue stone looks like an opal to me. So as they say in Aussie, I am a happy little Vegemite. You got to take the bitter, salty wariness with the sweet. I have not yet decided what to make from it, but I think if I can manage to solder a jump ring to the 3D kangaroo, it might become a pendant. Or I might just leave it as a spoon, as it is so adorable that way. Anyway, Aussie, Aussie, oi, 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 the lucky country, for fuck's sake. Yes, indeed. But here we have it. Oh, my nose is itchy now. Here we have it. It's beautiful and I'm very happy with it. And I did indeed put it on a pendant, a charm necklace. I left it in its original state as a spoon and put on a necklace, which I do wear. Oh gosh. Right, here we go, babies. 6th of July 2020. Yesterday at drumming, that'll be West End drumming, some woman asked me why I wear purple. I said, I wear lots of colours, trying not to roll my eyes. She then told me I reminded her of Mary Poppins. I giggled. I said, that is not such a bad thing. I almost brought lollipops for any children that might come along, but I forgot. So there goes my spoonful of sugar. We both laughed. Quite frankly, one never knows what I might pull out of my handbag or top hat. It's certainly not rabbits. Ha ha ha. Then she said she thinks I'm a white witch. I smiled demurely. Yes, many people think that. My grandfather was actually a very powerful witch. That would be my biological grandfather, Antoni Petula. So I guess I can be considered one too, via ancestry, or in the correct terminology, lineage. But I told her it is not polite to out people as witches. A bit like it's awkward when you out a gay person. There is nothing wrong with being either gay or a witch. But it is just a private thing in polite society. She understood. Then she told me at the end of drumming that an energy had stepped out from behind me and walked in front of her and blockaded her when she started describing me as a witch. I laughed. I said, "I did not do that." She said, "No, you were quite tolerant about it, but something with you stopped me from speaking further." I have thought about that. I was extremely angry when Tisha, who was a former friend up at the Live Wire Bar Casino, fucking arsehole she turned out to be at the end. But anyway, I was extremely angry when Tisha screamed out in a full, hectic Turkish restaurant that was Ahmet's at South Bank in January that I was a witch. That cost her my friendship. I do not keep people in my life who act uncouth and lack decency or dignity. I was so very, very angry about it. My former friend Karen aligned with Tisha, so that was the end of that friendship too. I don't miss them. They were toxic. Karen was actually, a good friend to me before she aligned with Tisha. It was just very fucking high school, quite frankly, and I don't play those kind of primitive schoolgirl, high school games. So I have a long history of trauma from being at an all-girls school with 30 females in a class, all menstruating, synchronized up every month, all PMSing, almost at the same time, every 30 days, being completely fucking vicious. So females in my life come to me and bring their shit to me, their PMS or PMDD atrocities, while they're doing what they do naturally, bleeding out of their vaginas because their uterus is shedding its cell membranes, which is perfectly natural, by the way. But if they want to come and bring their evil, vicious, spiteful shit to me, I'm like, no. Don't need that toxicity in my life. Not then, not now, not ever, by the way. And the kinds of females that use their period as an excuse for bad behaviour is weakness and spinelessness, and actually a kind of a borderline atrocity, by the way. And yes, I used to lose my shit sometimes too in the old days when I was a younger woman and had my period. It could turn me into a bit of a monster too, but don't hide behind it. Be honest, say, listen, today's not your day, big boys. Mum is on the rags and she's not in a good mental space, and if I was you, I would just back away from the beastie till, I'll be right in a few days. My beautiful, handsome, loving friend Jared, who was such a dear, dear brother to me and still is. In the early days of our friendship, he used to come to visit me. This was after, the separation, and I'd moved into a unit with my children, and he was so loving and supportive. Thank God for you, Jared. Thank God for you. And my friend Lynn. I would not have survived those awful, awful years. But anyway, he used to come to visit me, and he'd knock on the front door, my apartment, my unit, and the girls, Crystal and Jasmine, would open the door and let him in, and I'd be in the kitchen either making tea or frantically trying to throw together some kind of meal. And in those days I was veritably off my head because I was under extreme duress. and stress, and freshly strangled, by the way. So I was, very triggered and freshly traumatized. And anyway, he would come to see me and, keep a bit of an eye on me, hang out with me, which was kind, very, very kind. And anyway, but on these particular times, those special times of a woman's menstrual cycle when she's shedding and bleeding and feeling fucking icky and grotty and in pain, he would just walk through the door and walk towards the kitchen. And I'd be like, oh, hi, Jared. All I'd have to say is, oh, hi, Jared. And he's such a healer, a natural healer, our beautiful Jared. He would just take one look at my eyes swirling and he would nod. Hi, he'd say, and he'd keep walking past me to my back door where I kept a calendar. And in those days, I used to mark my menses with a little, Venus symbol, the circle with the little cross, to mark when my period was due. And, as a habit, as a reproductive woman, formerly a wife, pays to know these things. Am I right? Even though by that time I was in my first phase of celibacy. So anyway, so he would just go and stand in front of the calendar. And I noticed him doing this. What is he looking for, And nothing would be said. And then he would just turn and look at me and just have a little nod and take his cup of tea and move into the other living area and sit down. So this went on for a few months in a row, actually, and then I clicked on what he was doing. Clever man. My friend's a genius. He's a very clever man. And although he's never married and never actually lived with a woman in an intimate partnership for quite some time, many years, he was wise. So after about a few months of this happening, I said to him, why are you going to check the calendar when you come to visit me? And he said, I just know what mood you're going to be in today, Tanya. I said, oh, what mood is that? He said, you're PMSing off the Richter scale. And I'd be like, I am, but how did you know that? He went, well, I checked the calendar and you're right on, can set the clock by you. You're right on your cycle, and I just need to know what I'll be dealing with today. That, my friends, is a real man who knows how to treat a real woman respectfully and honouring even her crazy, fucked up hormonal cycles. And although we were never ever lovers or sexual partners, he managed that emotional hormonal wave very well and put up even with that. So this is how you know you're amongst people who love you and you're safe with, when they honour your... Sometimes I would have bouts of actual PMDD, by the way, which could be fucking terrifying even for me. But I never unleashed it on people. Usually I tried at all times to keep a very tight lid on it, because, I'm not that kind of a woman. If I unleash my rage on someone, they deserve it, babies. So where was I? Yes, segueing from the toxic former women friends who decided to debase and degrade and humiliate me about being a witch, which is not exactly something I can do anything about, since it's my lineage, it's my bloodlines, it's my power as a woman, it's just part of who I am. It's not something I even have to contrive or practice at all that often. It just is. So this lady yesterday was unaware of all of that, or that it might be a trigger. So I smiled sweetly and let it go. But I am well aware of the pernicious bigotry I have lived through for the past 55 years. If I do have an ancestor or higher power protecting me like yesterday, then I am grateful. Never fuck with the Tanya. They can put that on my epitaph one fine day, except I won't have an epitaph, as I'll very likely be cremated anyway. But, you know, I will go down with that motto. Should actually maybe get it made as a t-shirt, but then it looks a bit egocentric and narcissistic. But all my friends and people who truly deeply love me know. They know I live by that. Never fuck with the Tanya. Third person for a reason, because even I don't know who that entity was that followed that woman down and blocked her from carrying on too much about me being a witch, therefore stirring me up and upsetting me when I was in a happy mood. Am I right? Going about my business, attending a drumming circle. One diary left, this is written later in the day, one diary left, 320 pages, and 28 pages of the second last one. It's killing me. So many reminders of the evil, filthy traitors in my life back then. I am glad most of them have either died or fucked off to be awesome somewhere else. If I ever tell you to go be awesome somewhere else, that means fuck off. And when you get to the gate that says fuck off, climb that gate and climb over it and fuck off even further till you get to the hill with the sign on the top that says fuck off, and then climb down off that hill and wander off and keep fucking off for eternity. But my polite version is go be awesome somewhere else. There's room for us all on planet Earth and in individual body, mind, spirit, souls to be awesome. And you're welcome to be awesome and dance right beside me or join in with me, and together we can build a beautiful energy and create a beautiful vibe and have a wonderful evening. But bring your negative, spiteful, vicious enmity and shit. Just slough off. Be awesome somewhere else. There's room for you, just not in my space. I'm very, very, very protective about that, by the way. And anyway, there was no negativity last night from spiteful, envious people like I've been seeing in the previous month. It was quite delightful. Thank you to my delightful, beloved souls that come to dance with me without spite or malice or envy, and just rejoiced with me and rejoiced in the beautiful band and rejoiced in the beautiful venue and just spread joy and not oi, and we're living your best lives in that moment last night. That's what I need to see more of. More and more and more of us building a community of people who are not just out to get drunk out of our skulls or drown our sorrows, but create and build and emanate and bloom and grow and glow and crow and delight, especially in these difficult, fraught times, which every epoch of my life, right back to my first arrival on this planet as an infant, was difficult and fraught because of my family of origin, by the way. And some of the things that weren't technically their fault, like the the whooping cough and measles epidemic and me breaking my arm at the health camp I got sent to for my protection, by the way. Some of that wasn't all their fault, but spread joy, not oi. Be the person that you needed when you were a young child, unprotected by idiots. Be powerful. Be delightful. Be love. Real love. Protective, joyful, soul nourishing, comforting, honouring. If you have a lover as well, romantic and passionate, intimate love of the good kind, the honouring, sweet, devoted kind. Don't settle for anything less. Anyway, I'm glad they fucked off to be awesome somewhere else or died. They don't have the power to hurt me anymore. Where you going, little baby girl? Can I have a kissy kissy? Oh, she's so gorgeous. Some of the women in my community were treacherous, borderline, backstabbing, harlots without integrity or decency. They wreaked havoc and tried to enable the complete destruction of myself and my kids. One lives overseas now. The rest, better never, ever come near me or mine again. I know, Charlie. I know. Can I have a kissy kissy? Still, they played their role so magnificently out of envy and spite, squabbling over that psychopathic cock supreme like he was some prize. I was the only one who had the guts to stand up to him, which, like all abusers, he seemed to greatly admire. But he is dead, and I am free of him at least. I'm not actually. Still tries to come through in my trance drummings, telling me all sorts of very strange, weird, fairy stories. The last trance drumming, he said I need to unblock him because he cannot move into the light fully and be free of me until I invite a truly loving partner into my life. And I said to him, that's bullshit, because I let go of you 23 years ago. And I said, and when you died, I let go of you again, and I told you to go into the light and that you weren't welcome in my energy. And he had the chutzpah, this entity, this spirit, let's face it, we don't know 100% who it really is, could be anything, to tell me that he's not free of me until I'm happy and in a loving relationship with a beautiful man who loves me back, and that he's trying to help me. That would be the equivalent of inviting Hitler to dinner to matchmake you with your worst enemy, by the way. Look how she's looking at me. I'm right though, aren't I, Charlie? He really was a demon spawned, that man, when he was still alive, by the way, and has the chutzpah to try to tell me that he's helping me with my love life. I don't require his help. He wasn't a good spirit when he was a man that I had once been deeply in love with, and he wasn't a good spirit. Now he's dead. since he keeps hanging around my energy, feeding me fairy stories of how he's trying to help me with my love life. Oh, he will never, if he's telling the truth and that he's bound in some contract by the gods because of all the damage he did to me to help me with my love life, and that me not letting him means he remains trapped, so be it. I'm a free and wild and powerful and self-determined woman. I don't need any help with my love life from discarnate, evil spirits that were and are former lovers that did nothing but betray and damage me by the way. No, no, no. If anyone wants to help me find my truly loving partner who chooses me from his own body, mind, spirit, soul, intellect, emotions, heart, that will be by that person's own free will, not manipulated by ghosts of former Israeli lover men. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it. There will be no manipulation. There will only be honour, integrity, great and powerful and joyous and beautiful love between me and my destined one, gifted by the gods of both our understandings, gifted by the Holy One in all manifestations of holiness. Get thee to Gehenna, David Davidson. I do not give you the authority or the power to interfere in my life, romantic or otherwise, ever, ever, ever. There was quite enough of that 23 years ago, by the way. Go be awesome somewhere else. But where were we? Where were we, my darlings? He is dead and I'm free of him at least. His squalling corpse brides can rot in hell with him. Oh yes, they can. I'll wait. I will wait. Meanwhile, I have been struggling lately to come out of the depths of putrid ugliness that showered upon me since last year's surgery. So this was written in 2020. Let me scroll back. Yes, 4 years ago. He's got the chutzpah to float through and fade my trance drumming to tell me that he's helping me. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break, my darlings. I held on to hopes of love, but again realised it is only another sick game. 2020 was when I finally began to detach. Took me a long time to detach, considering I met that last dreadlocked nitwit in 2014. The only way to win a game is not to play. The cyclic repeat of sick, perverted karma is getting rather old. I would like to break that broken record and find a partner that just once is not out to annihilate me. Little girl's dreams are free, but warrior goddess, psychedelic swirling dreams are costly. So I know how that goes. indeed I do. I have been happier though, burning Teddy and cutting out the residual blocks from my tormented, tortured childhood was absolutely the right thing. It allows the spheres of my existence to rotate and bounce off each other like cogs in a mechanical watch to lock into place the right kind of love and life for me. You see, giggles, the dreamer still believes in her own fairy tale magical existence, which is adorable, but without that fetid hag they call hope, I would not still be alive and dreaming my present, future, past self into some kind of purified, rectified, glorified existence. Breathe now, a sunset right now. Everything is safe and perfect in my life right now, but I must not forget the illusory, mercurial, sidewinding mirage that sneaks up on me in any moment. After decades of it, it's hard to trust in other humans or even in life. So I must trust in my own self and my gods. And I posted a page from my diary. I'm not going to read that, as that person I'm praising here so effusively and vaingloriously turned out to be a traitor after all. So slough the fuck off. Still hurts to this day though. I was very fond of that particular woman. Here I write 2019. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I drink coffee, so fuck them. It's a meme called A Mad Girl's Love Song, and the quote is by an unknown. It was a very lovely meme, I liked that. I actually mostly do drink tea and only occasionally drink coffee, but the sentiment remains quite provocative, I thought. Here I write, Jack Daniels actually. I must buy another bottle. I finished the last one last week. It lasted a fairly long time too. Sigh, because I don't drink at home usually unless I have visitors and we decide to get on the terps together. I very rarely drink during the week. I reserve my drinking for my wild dance, and once a week or sometimes 2 nights a week. But last week, because I danced 2 nights, I only had 2 drinks on the Saturday because I'm conscious of not wanting to, take in too much alcohol because, I have a enlarged liver from my bad diet and 15 years of psych meds. So alcohol was very dangerous. Too much alcohol was very dangerous for my liver. So I just keep it just in that little bit of a treat once a week, just that little bit of subpar. I don't want it impacting on my health too much. And I don't need alcohol to have a good time. In fact, some of my wildest and best nights out, unbeknownst to the Treasury Casino, I was completely sober and drinking water all night, and could act as crazy and as wild as I wanted because I had the energy reservoirs, and they just assumed I'd been drinking. Didn't do that very often, of course, because I like to pay my way, and if you're out, it's only fair that you buy drinks. But Yes, my best nights were sometimes my most sober nights. I wrote this on the 17th of April 2020. I find it rather interesting, so I'm resharing. Life is a dance. We are forever spiraling up and down through mood states and, in some rare cases, mood disorders, dancing with the duality, life and death, rich and poor, giving and receiving, healing and disease, or dis-ease and disarray, light and dark, each containing the remedy of the opposing forces. Without our stolid grip on earth with gravity, we would not ever have studied the skies, the supernal heavens, and watched the birds and longed to fly. In flying too long at sea, even the wisest, oldest albatross longs to place his feet on solid ground in a safe harbour somewhere, to be nurtured and cherished. As we age, speaking for myself here, we are forever meeting the same challenges in ever concentric circles in the cycles of our life, the bottlenecked squeeze at the point of emergence, where we again fly out into the opposing spiral of the symbol of infinity. My dead biological grandfather's, the witch, favourite symbol, the upside down 8, not actually upside down, but lying down at 180 degrees, infinity. Not actually an equally sized 8, as I learned on a show on Gaia, but a fat-bottomed 8 on the edges. This made me smile, but only because it perfectly demonstrates the asymmetry of the universe, and I am a big-bottomed, buxom, Jewish, Viking, warrior goddess. So somehow that suits me well. Dancing was extremely valued by my mystical witch grandfather, Antoni Petula. Also by my equally mystical great-grandfather, Thomas Phillips, who was famous for dancing the Irish jig and who actually performed in pantomimes. He had flaming red hair and sang beautifully. I'm a bit confused about him speaking in an Irish brogue though, as he was born in New Zealand. I assume he had learnt his accent from his parents. I myself took to dancing wildly and ecstatically only in the past 8 years. 12, 13, 14 years now all up. I had finally lost the fear of other people's cruel judgment and gave myself to the dance in a way that many found confronting. One woman was so spiteful and envious of my newfound, hard-won freedom that she harassed and bullied me to the point of suicide, although 2015 was my most horribilis of all my annises. So she was only one disgustingly cruel, pernicious, seeping wound. So today I declare to the multiverses and myself, no more running around bleeding on unstaunched, unresolved stigmata from the past. I acknowledge the love I poured into cold, reptilian, evil schmucks. The love that I felt had been desecrated and wasted and debased. My love is real, but I am not responsible for the treacherous people who lacked enough cognition and grace to receive it. They have their walk and I have mine, so I send them the power of their own unique spirit to remember who they truly are, and to let them go with a smile and a curtsy, and perhaps in my own time and space, a courtesy. Reposted from the 19th of September 2019, because I like it so much and it must have come up as a reminder and I wanted to cherish that memory. He studies me like a lab rat, tweaks at my soul, a pinch and a punch for the first of the month. He watches my emotions seethe beneath my skin, learns the ones I bury deep, to sink like cankers in my watery depths, a cancer waiting to bloom until I scream my streaming into the nightmarish dream. He watches from the shadows or the edge of the abyss, sees me falling into the rabbit hole, but waits for me on the other side. He won't enact his own fall. I write him lovesick, sick, sick poetry and beg for his love. I curse and proclaim my accursed farcical fate. But still he watches, afraid of a love so immense that it even terrifies and stultifies my own self. I let him go in an agony of eons, but still he comes. My friends scream, "He's here," thinking they are being protective, those malicious women, Tisha and Karen, that were all enmeshed with him, by the way. Foul it was, beyond foul. But I need no protection from him, for I have called his spirit, and he and I are bound by something dark, but also light and lovely. Golden lights never lie, even if they threw us both into sabotage and distrust and chaos. Hell, even I know that. I never had a man love me before, not like that. Body, mind, and soul, bound by heart in some ancient ancestral kinship. It's spiritual, but evil would not let me have him. And by the way, The evil that would not let me have him was indeed the greatest, most powerful good that ever manifested in my life, because he proved himself unworthy and inept and weak and spineless and nasty and not worthy of a scrap of my love. But I had not reached that gnosis yet on the 19th of September 2019. Oh, poor Tanya, alas, we knew her well, biblically too, in that instance. It is probably for the best, I wrote back then. Starting to wake up to myself, finally, guided by the gods. Envy and spite tore us apart and kept us apart, but ultimately the heart knows its beloved in every world and paradigm, from the ocean's depths to the galactic summer sky, the tsum of creation, pushing and pulling, breaking down and rebuilding, desecration and slaughtering of my kintsugi'd heart. But look how it shines, a jewel in the firmament, a crown created for a broken little girl who made her love sublime. Utterly ridiculous. What kind of fool am I? Well, darlings, the very best manufactured by trauma. Fool. I will kiss you in 4 places and call your name to the blue summer sky. Spirit with her cryptic, sardonic, playful messages again. Sighs. Psychedelic Dreamer is grateful for the beautiful weekend I just had, and again grateful for this one I just had last night, my beloved ones. For the love and acceptance, for the dance amongst the Sephirot, for the tender approach of friends, old and new, for the laughter, for my indomitable spirit, for the passion. Time to get on with my day. Shalom, you all. Kiss. Reposted from 2nd of October 2019. Today I declare to the multiverses that I cut, destroy, revoke, withdraw any contracts with any beings. I hope you're listening, David Davidson, you ignoble motherfucker. Any contracts with any beings, whether human or non-human, that hold me back from thriving as a woman, spirit, person on this planet. I want what I want and have for a very, very long time, to be in a loving partnership with an authentic partner, to be surrounded with my loyal, loving friends and family, to be part of a tribe and or community that values, respects, cherishes, and if necessary, protects me, my beloved ones. To be financially abundant and free of all governmental controls, so I can afford to travel the world and live comfortably in the place I always dreamed to be. Byron Bay. To be healthy, whole and wise, to become more joyous, loving and safer than ever before. Of course, our planet requires healing as much as I do, even more now, baby girl, for Jesus. I pray to be a part of that paradigm shift and enhance the already rising divine feminine in my tiny warrior goddess ways. I want to blossom and continuously grow in a beautiful, positive, life-enhancing way, which some of you witnessed last night, by the way, when the magic happens in my spirit. I want to witness everyone wake up and witness the earth in all her fullness become redolent with life force and spirit again. I want what I want, and I want it now, with harm to none. Thank you, multiverses. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Reposted from 29th of October 2019. My wonderful friend Peter Sloan copied my writings from my last defunct laptop that I had gathered for my book That Might Never Happen, and saved it to a hard disk drive. I have been going through them and found the status update and thought it was worth another share. I have not felt mentally well today. Swings and roundabouts. Say, Mavi, that's my life. July 11th, 2016. Trigger warning, intrafamilial incest. So if you can't handle that kind of taboo topic, which is my lived reality, which I can't escape, hence 25 years of fucking therapy, people, and still going, by the way. It's probably until the day I die. But if you can't handle it, you don't have to handle it, babies. It's not your reality. Go be awesome. Enjoy your day. Thank you for listening this long and this far, and for your love and your kindness and your soul-nourishing support, by the way. But here I write, you know, in some ways it is hard to look at this childhood photo without some measure of pain. I was such a wild, carefree, joyous spirit, even then, as a child. 'Tis a beautiful photo, as I remember that day, even that moment being one of the happiest of my life. As you can see, Rosalind was much taller than I, even though she is 9 months younger than I. She has 4 older brothers. I had a half-sister, 15 years older, who married the year I was in this photo. I was 5. Our only close friend, Rosalind's and mine, was Lynn Robertson, my true sister. Oh, how we used to fight. Lynn was 4 years older than I, but Rosalind and I were like a dynamic duo, bloody unstoppable. Plus, we had the beach. We would tear at each other's hair, bite and kick, slap and scratch, scream and yell, but we loved each other. We would take our scratches and bruises and be very devoted friends 5 minutes or a day later. I still remember stomping up to her house one afternoon. Muriel, her Cockney mother, fended me off at the front driveway. "Here, you little bastard, you! Look what you did to my Roslyn. Get over here, Roslyn. Show Tanya your knee." Roslyn walks over, sporting a bruise the size of a side plate under her knee. I look in horror. I had done that. No denying it. It was huge. But I held my little 6-year-old ground, head held high in indignance. Yes, Mrs. Hodemakers, that was me. It looks nasty, really bad. But I bent my head forward, showing her my scalp. But this is what Roslyn did to me. So it is sorta even? Muriel looks at my head, where a bunch of my hair has been torn out of my scalp. Like there was actually a little bald patch. She'd ripped out that much feckin' hair. Just why I booted her one. Oh, bejesus. But you know, like I say, we'd make it up 5 minutes later. Oh, shit. Well, I suppose you little brats plan on making it up today then. Can you try not to kill each other today? You are giving me grey hair. We nodded politely and silently in her direction. Well, bloody shake hands on the deal then. We shook hands, then buggered off to the beach for our usual cavorting. When I got home, I got a stern look from my mother. Muriel and I have agreed to not involve ourselves in your fights, as neither of us know what to do with you both. 1 minute you are killing each other, the next it is like nothing ever happened. Perfect harmony. For my part, I had had hard-ass role modelling. My fucking fucked up, violent, abusive parents. I had anger issues from being a victim of child sexual abuse when I was 6 until 8 as well. Although I never spoke of that to Roslyn, I did eventually tell Lynn, which was a heavy burden for an 11-year-old child to take on. Together, Lynn, my hero, and I opened the bonnet on Trevor Singh's car, a Humber Hawk. Lynn tried to find the brake line as she, a very gifted, well-read child who had already read every book in the children's section of the Island Bay Public Library, so was now reading adult books in the adult area that were deemed appropriate by the librarian, had read you could crash a car that way. We looked and looked in quiet desperation, but we did not know which line to cut, so Trevor Singh lived to continue to abuse me and very likely other children. I wish to this day we had crossed that line. How different life could have been. And when I say very likely other children, he actually got a job when I was about 13, 14, around about the time he bought me the horse. He got a job working for Kandala Primary School as a cleaner or janitor there. And he invited me to the school and asked me to help clean, which I did, because I was an obedient child, brought up with all the abuse dynamics in my childhood, my family of origin. And he was family to me, my godfather, and had been in my life all those years, even though the sexual abuse ceased when I was 8. The emotional, psychosexual flavour, where he would act out this role that he was my boyfriend, which was fucking sick, by the way, and I would just try to ignore it or survive it. But anyway, he asked me to come on several occasions to help clean the classrooms at the school. And I remember I was cleaning, wiping down, the blackboards and dusting desks and things like that. So I was indeed cleaning. I wasn't, I was not there just as a sidekick. I was actually helping clean the school. I think I helped clean the toilets as well. And anyway, and then he showed me his little office, which I was not comfortable to go in alone with him because I knew his predilections. And he hadn't done that in years, but I was very, very wary of being in small confined areas with him, for obvious reasons, and very triggered. And he showed me his office, and it was a very small room, roughly the size of my bathroom, really. And I asked him point blank, I said, "Do you invite children to this office?" And he actually smirked at me and said, "Sometimes." So I kind of knew he hadn't stopped with his predation, and his preference was for children from the ages of 6 till 10. So my blood literally fucking ran cold. And anyway, I'd cleaned for him for a few times, but I didn't go cleaning for him after that. I always was busy or made myself absent or, "Oh, you fucking bastard, you haven't stopped predating on children at all." So if anyone from Kandala Primary School, dating back to not when I was 13, we're talking, when I was 13, I was born in 1965. So 1978 to 1982, 1983, I'm not sure how long he worked in that school for. Kandala Primary, Wellington, New Zealand. If any of you children were predated on by that man in that time period, his name was Trevor Singh, though you may not have known his name since he was just the janitor. If you wish to come forward or get therapy for your complex PTSD from the abuse you endured with that man, I'm validating you. He bragged about it to me, and being a child, I didn't know how to go to the authorities to report him, and certainly had not had any protection from my own self. But I'm validating you. If you went to that school in that time period and that man predated on you, and you have memories of that, and you want to seek counselling or report to the education system about their malfeasant negligence, hiring pedophiles, or you want to take action in some other way, or you just want to go to the police and make a report of it, you're not lying. You didn't imagine it, and you will not be gaslighted or invalidated by me, a fellow survivor of that predator, by the way. Okay? Much love to you. May you be blessed with a prosperous, happy, safe, loving life as you greatly deserve, and as did I, by the way. Anyway, I continue writing. Here I am, 5 years old. This is the photo. Have I got the photo attached to this? No, I don't know what happened to that photo. It's up on Facebook. I should, if it comes up in my memories, I'll attach it later. But it's a lovely photo of Rosalind and I standing outside Wellington Zoo and smiling into the camera. And the photo was taken by my mother's boarder, Marion, and who'd taken us to the zoo. I don't know why she took us specifically. Maybe all our parents were working, or because she had no children, maybe our parents thought it would be nice for her to get to hang out with little girls and play the nurturing, mothering role for a day. I don't know why. I don't know why she took the photo. Anyway, it was Marion, Auntie Marion, that took that photo. But we had a happy day, safe, happy, loving day. And it was one of the happiest days in my early childhood. So up went that photo in honour of my friend Rosalind and my few rare and precious happy days. So anyway, I'm still untainted, which is why I talk about my alter ego, Miss Five, who is pristine. And although already very fucking damaged by the emotional, mental, familial, financial, you name it, abuse in the family of origin dynamic from birth, the sexual abuse had not yet begun until the following year. So Miss Five is my alter ego that is in her pristine, untainted by filthy fucking men state. And she is my most powerful protector of all, actually. Still untainted by the sexual abuse, but accustomed to verbal, physical, emotional abuse, and at times neglect from birth. Even Trevor was obsessed that I was properly fed and nurtured to a degree. He took the hard ginger nut biscuits. In New Zealand we have these biscuits called ginger nuts. They're round like that, and you can hardly bite into them with your teeth. They're very, very hard to bite into. He took the hard ginger nut biscuits that I had hungrily smashed into my almost 3-year-old, freshly stitched up mouth, fresh from oral surgery, removing a tumour that had spread inside my mouth and lips and even growing into my cheeks, and yelling at my parents and half-sister for thinking it was funny how hungry I was, how determined to eat, even with a raw, swollen, stitched up mouth, probably still under the influence of the anaesthetic too. He soaked the remainder in milk and spoon-fed them to me. In that instance, a better father, mother, sister than my own blood. So the cognitive dissonance, the rage and the confusion, the love, the hatred for him who later became my sexual abuser, in his twisted, disturbed, fucked up mind, I was his girlfriend, mistress, lover, companion, began. So here I wonder why I never had a healthy, normal sexual relationship with any man. The damage done to my little body and psyche had set a pattern for the rest of my life. love, sex, survival, violence, all jumbled up in a soup of trauma and distrust, even loathing. I turned out great. I was a beautiful, highly intelligent warrior child who did not deserve her fate. No child of abuse like that does, by the way. No child deserves to be treated like that. I managed, quite miraculously, to not kill anyone, not even myself. I managed to avoid being a drug addict or a serial killer. I managed, barely, to survive. I married very young, hoping for love and safety, and got precious little of that. I did not know what safety felt like until I moved into my housing commission home 13 years ago, 21 years ago now. I was 38 years old. Even then, I was not completely safe. But I had a place I could stay in, lay my head down, and begin to heal. It took years, still healing, but I am much older and wiser now. Now I can laugh in the face of so much madness and collateral damage I endured in my entire life. Laughter, banshees shrieking at doors and lintels. Loudest and last is best. Fuck you to my family of fucks. My father used to instruct me, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. He had a lot to fear from me. They all did. I knew who they really were. Monsters. Not under my bed, but in my bed. Not wispy, raspy delusions inside my head, but a daily and nocturnal reality. The reality that made little children want to put a permanent end to them. Give me a child by the age of 7 and I will show you the woman. Here she is, splendid creation of dark and light, fear and fright, love and hate, amidst supernal powers of healing and compassion, even for my personal monsters of yore. They took so much from me. My childhood innocence, my right to a safe, happy, healthy life, Charlie. My mental health, my physical health, my ability to find or sustain safe, loving partnerships, my ability to create wealth or even work. Finally, they robbed me of my rightful inheritance, as though it wasn't enough of all the other intrinsic things they had stolen from me. The bastards. They took and took, exploited, slandered, abused, even started abusing my own children, which is why I kept moving house, kept escaping them. I don't think there was any sexual abuse to my knowledge. Dear God, I pray there was no sexual abuse. But my husband was starting to act very strange and was standing at the foot of Jasmine's bed staring at her, sometimes for up to half an hour, and I would find, I'd go up to bed and I'd find him standing, what the fuck's going on? And so there was that level of weirdness, and my mother was starting to hit my kids, being physically violent with them, creating big fucking fights and dramas. So I had to get us away from them all. It was a constant process of escaping them for quite some years too. 8 moves. 8 moves, Charlie. I love you. You was a pretty bird. With no money and minimal support except for a few good, kind, decent, close friends. But I managed. I grew myself up. I grew my kids up. I did great in spite of my huge limitations. So now excuse me if I must insist on having fun before I die, then spend the last part of my life, months, years, in peaceful, harmonious serenity, with enough love and joy to sustain me and little Charlie. My star has risen, but like a holographic moon, it may not shine its light of comfort and joy for very long. What are you doing, Charlie? Being a very weird little birdie. Very weird little birdie girl. All things are temporary. Yes, they are, baby boys and baby girls. All things are temporary. The good as well as the bad, yin and yang, swirling in infinity. We come but once, but don't worry, we'll be here again in another incarnation, another form. Perhaps next life I'll be the birdie and Charlie will be the equivalent of the Tanya in another form. That would be weird. Rise and shine. I hope you give me as much freedom as I give you, Charlie. Just saying. Rise and shine while ye still can, my beauties. For when my light shall dim and fade to black out, I fully expect you all to continue to shine and light. Where am I? And light the way for others, seeking truth, joy, and love on the journey to wholeness, wholesomeness. I cannot do it without you, people of Earth, decent, noble, courageous, honouring, protecting, loving people of Earth. Here I posted an article by Michael Moline Skelton, 3rd of July 2020, quoted from Isabel Allende, locked up in her home with her husband and 2 dogs. Yes, my darling. The Chilean writer has lived in the United States for 30 years. Consulted by the main fear of the virus, which is death, the writer said that since her daughter Paula died 27 years ago, she lost her fear forever. First, because I saw her die in my arms, and I realized that death is like birth. It's a transition, a threshold, and I lost fear personally. Now, if I get the virus, I belong to the most vulnerable population, the elderly. I'm 77 years old. Ow! And I know if I get it, I'm going to die. Well, that's what they kept telling us, but wasn't necessarily true of everyone. Trust your own immune system and your ability to choose life no matter what, and the power of your own innate life force, by the way. Don't listen to the doom and gloomers and fearmongers. And if it is your time, then it is your time. But don't live your life in fear of others' ideologies or perceptions imposed upon you. Just saying. Then she continues to write, then the possibility of death comes very clear to me right now. I see it curious and without any fear. Good on you, Isabella Lende. Courage, corazon. What the pandemic, corazon is Spanish for heart, but she knows what I mean by that. Own your own heart. What the pandemic has taught me is to drop things, realise how little I need. I don't need to shop. I don't need to go anywhere or travel. I think I have too much. I look around and tell myself, why all this? What do I need more than 2 dishes for? Afterwards, realising who the real friends and people I want to be with. What do you think the pandemic teaches us all? He's teaching us priorities and showing us a reality, the reality of inequality. How some people spend a pandemic on a yacht in the Caribbean and other people are going hungry. He has also taught us that we are one family. What happens to a human being in Wuhan happens to the planet, happens to all of us. There's no tribal idea that we're separated from the group and that we can defend the group while the rest of the people scrub. There are no walls that can separate people. Creators, artists, scientists, all young people, many women are considering a new normal. They don't want to go back to what was normal. They're wondering what world we want. That's the most important question right now. That dream from a different world, that's where we have to go. And I reflect. I realised at some point that one comes into the world to lose everything. Yes, indeed, that's been my experience. The more one lives, the more one loses. You lose your parents first. Sometimes very loved people around you, your pets, places, and your own faculties too. You can't live in fear because it makes you imagine what hasn't happened yet, and you suffer twice as much. We need to relax a little, try to enjoy what we have, and live in the present. As I said to you earlier, spread joy and not oi. I totally agree. I have lived with death since infancy. Choosing life every day has sometimes been the most difficult thing. But I am a warrior goddess. I have survived and fought narcopaths, pedophiles, psychopathic, raping, strangling, soul-destroying partners, poverty, trauma, divorce, disease, and systemic abuses that piled up on top of all of that for 55 years. Try 59 years. Some days I can't comprehend how I did it. I had help from my earth angels and no doubt the Holy One as well. My psychiatrist says it was my innate defiance and high intelligence that kept me alive. I don't know. Maybe I was just lucky a few times too. But life is worth every scrap of morsel of every degrading experience that ever came my way. To see laughter in a child's eyes, absolute admiration and awe. To see a sunset or last night's moon with the planets in alignment. To see my own growth and strengthening into the woman I am right now in this moment. Miraculous. Just saw my neighbour's son walk past, walking like a fucking zombie, and I watched because he was walking very strangely indeed. Right off his fucking guts he is. History repeating there. His father was once a heroin addict and I think he's still on the methadone program. Jesus. It's really terrible when addictions run through families like that, including the intergenerational trauma. But not my monkey, not my circus. I won't be getting involved in any of that. To see my own growth and strengthening into the woman I am right now in this moment, miraculous. I am both astounded and grateful and saddened to see that boy in that state, but he's a grown young man now and has to live by his own choices. 6th of July 2019. I woke up after intense dreams about moving into a haunted house that was haunted by at least 3 spirits who thought they lived on a ship. They were quite malevolent and could fully manifest. By that appear as 3D people looking fully fleshed out, looking like real people. Just very fucking powerful when spirits can do that. When you don't even realise at first that you're talking to a ghost, so they appear as a real fleshed out person. They wore turn of the century dresses. One even baked me an offering of little pies. I took them outside and placed them next to a fountain for birds to take. But people came by and took them instead, never accept food from the fairy realms, by the way, or from the underworld. So the dream is kind of a warning there. Never, ever accept their food, lest you be trapped in their dimension for eternity, without any way of coming back to our realm. I went to the real estate office to tell them my new home was seriously haunted. Enough for them to bake me cakes, by the way. They admitted they knew. I was slightly annoyed about that. There were other aspects to the dream, but I can't remember them all now. The interior of the house was painted white. Everything seemed white. I did make a small offering to the Fae and tree spirits at my former dead wannabe rapist neighbour's house on Thursday afternoon. I had been under full-blown spiritual and emotional and physical attack with my surgery on Tuesday the 25th of June, and notably the demolition of his house and the uprooting of all the trees on that land began at that time. Isn't that weird? Just the synchronistic destruction and timing, the time when I'd also had an organ sliced out of me by necessity, but the systemic and abuse that went with it weren't necessary. I have not had any contact with my daughter since the awful fight on Wednesday the 26th of June, coming home from the hospital. Not surprisingly, I'm not even bothered by it. Only so much one woman can take. I'm very conscious of the fact that whenever my body is seriously sick or has had surgery, that I seem to suffer some kind of hellish spiritual attack as well. Some of these have been constant in my life, which led to my suicide attempt in August 2015, 22nd of August, the night of the 21st and 22nd of August 2015. When the gods showed me yet again that I'm not allowed to leave this mortal coil until they decree it as my appointed time. They keep giving me extra time and longer continuance on this planet, by the way, sometimes against my own will. So it's a bit weird, people of Earth. And continued long after with constant teeth and nerve pain, now the gallbladder removal. Bits of my anatomy extracted since 2007 has become rather a theme. Teeth extracted and gallbladder and my uterus, hitching up my bladder and my vaginal cavity. For fuck's sake, it was a lot. I read this morning about Michael Hutchence having a head injury after being punched out in Copenhagen. It caused him a sudden personality change that culminated in his suicide. I've had a few bad falls in my bath where I smacked the back of my head. I have to keep a rubber mat on the bottom of my bath or I fall. Was also punched at the pub, but not in the head, fortunately. Concurrent head traumas, though. My mother constantly hit me in the face to the point my paedophile godfather, Trevor Singh, begged her not to, as he worried it would damage my teeth, which ultimately it did. By 13 years of age, I had my first abscess. Then she abused me for years for having a blackened front tooth. Then lent me $2,000 when I was 20 to get my first crown, as the black tooth made me look ugly and like a hobo. As soon as I came out of that dental surgery, still bleeding and swollen, she demanded the money back. $2,000 was a lot of money back in, I was 20, so it was 1985. My then husband had to borrow money to pay the evil, sadistic bitch back. I really, really should have completely cut ties to her back then, but I was so accustomed to her abuse that I just shrugged it off. The grief, however, has never fully left me. So after the will dispute ended in September 2012, I have a dental implant and new crown, but after 2015, I had several teeth pulled with agonizing dry sockets. That evil spirit wanted me toothless and soulless like her. One of her chairs is still mouldering away on Cavendish Road. I wonder how long before that Horcrux is completely gone. If my life will finally heal when it's gone. In the meantime, I endure. Smiley face. Update. I walked Bobo along Cav Road on Sunday the 21st of July and was relieved to see that Mum's remaining piece of that modular couch had finally been disposed of, except for a few remaining pieces of foam. I had experienced a few happy days, so I thought, maybe that is why the Horcrux is finally gone, although much of her china is still here. What a glorious morning. I'm writing later on, earlier that day, sorry. Temperature's dropping, sun's going down, and my chest is arcing up. What a glorious morning. Something truly beautiful like my Charlie is manifesting in my spirit today. I have been lying in my warm bed, ably protected on each side by Beauregard and Penny, feeling greatly loved by their animal spirits, and yes, by the unseen ones. Thank you for your loving message this morning, Louise Winton, my Irish Jewish angel, who loves me so fiercely, all the way from Manchester, England. Thank you to Laura Martin in Ontario, Canada, who constantly keeps me precious. Thank you to Megan, my cousin in New Zealand, who constantly reminds me of our, warrior goddess rising and shining. Thank you to Catherine Holdsworth also. Thank you to those who say nothing, as they know not what to say or do, but send me their loving energy. Thank you to the gods, the angels, the elementals, and most of all to Gaia, who nurtures me daily and gently lulls me through dark times and the brightest, most glorious, momentous blitzes, who holds my energy deep in the bowels of molten lava and takes it and seethes it and transmutes it and sends it back to me so I can once again know happiness. The war is a righteous one, a worthy one. I am so honoured to have stood up even in my most weakest and vulnerable, and fought against abuse and injustice yet again. Maybe my efforts are ineffectual. I shall probably die alone, unloved and untouched by human men, but that will be my greatest glory. For I stood beside the divine feminine, and I shook the temples of the patriarchy down to the ground, screaming and trembling in awe before gods of my own innate understanding. And like Shimshon, the only way they could negate me was to cut my hair or silence me, rape or marginalise me. But I grew back, time and again, across all paradigms and vortices. In the face of all deception, betrayal, slander, and my own perspicacity. Oh, Charlie. Oh, just in time. No, I missed a bit. Oh my goddess, I'm tired. I'm tired, my beautiful beloved ones. I'm so tired. In the face of my own poverty and doubts and fears and rivers of tears and agonies imposed by an unworthy society and a body reaching its final declension, but yet still healing itself. Yes, Bobo. And raising its standard, yes, on the fields of carnage that steal our honour and our womanly pride. I yielded to no abuser nor their handmaiden. I sipped from the golden chalice. Charlie, don't, that hurts, bummer. Of the gods. I was well cared for and satiated. Just when I thought love would enfold me, he slipped away again. But I have watched him peeking and seeking behind the crowds, silently yearning to gain control over my heart and mind, afraid of a warrior goddess and her limitless love and her still blossoming potential. I wish someday he can come back to me. No, I don't. I deserve a real and true love, not a man like that. No, but I was still in denial back then, still lost in some kind of hell loop. Dear goddess. And no, my heart was only meant to nourish and nurture and to be cherished in return. True love is a gift that is given both ways, hopefully meeting in the middle as equals, sublimely, divinely, and beatifically, people of earth. An energy that builds and climaxes and cascades again and again, with or without you. I love you as soon as I open my eyes each day, and I love you as I close my eyes each night. A love that emboldens and unfolds even though we are apart, as you never chose me. What fucking epic knavery. I lay here thinking of all the men who stole or purchased or claimed a piece of my heart. The same whimsical games played over and over again, even amidst platonic male friends. Don't do that. Don't play games with my heart if you want to be in my life for the long term, people of Earth, men of Earth. I remembered sweet young Ephraim, who after a boxing match full of Mexican pride and fire, yelling at me to get away from him. I had started to look at him with love, which was confusing as at that time in my life I was in love with that devil, Davidson, and I was truly disturbed and broken and shattered, so I was cleaving to anyone who treated me with any sort of kindness. And I am grateful to Ephraim, who saw my suffering and did not take advantage of it. A kind, decent, loyal friend. I remember running up an embankment and far away. I was upset, of course. Rejection hurts. Being played for a fool even more so. But we remained friends over the years until recently. A lot of button pushing was going on, so I had to block him after many, many years of friendship. We're talking dating back to the year 1999-2000 when I worked with him at the Queensland Police Service Academy. But we remained friends over the years, and that is a far greater privilege than any roll in the hay. I also remember the early years with my beloved friend Jared, who verily saved my life in those most hellish sadistic days when my marriage crumbled and my mother stepped up her campaign of terror. Without his and Lynn Sloan's staunch, determined love, I would not be alive today, and my children would have been raised by blood-curdling, practicing paedophiles and their henchmen. So I never regret wanting a different life for my daughters, but the abuse was so entrenched that they too became abusers, and that, my friends, is how my story begins and ends. A useless, unmothered woman who, like a fool, dreamed of better or safer or kinder or different, but yes, accursed as I was, with the inability to break my chains. That should say, yet accursed I was with the inability to break my chains. So in the sunshine of my middle age, I can only rattle them and staunch the bleeding and take my courage and my occasional absurdist euphoria and kiss the face of God, my jealous God, who refuses to allow me a life partner that is authentic and mine. He refuses me the comfort and ease and love with my children and any potential grandchildren. but he gifts me a functioning mind and no more silence, and the heart of a warrior goddess, bloodletting her spiritual courage, and a broken, battered heart that is eternal. Some of my former lovers have no idea what hit them. They thought they could strangle me, rape me, and I would lick their feet with eminent gratitude for such betrayal. Well, one could not cross the threshold between this world and the next, as I told him, for his disgusting ignominy, he would one day crawl at my feet, and I would step over him. He bashed my door, but could not cross my own threshold. My angel showed me I was loved and protected. But who are they, these angels that send me into mortal danger and gift me men with golden auras who can only fake love to slake their lust, Dave? Yet still they peek and cast aspersions from behind other men's shoulders as deep down, way deep down inside, that quivering in their glands and wrinkled, twisted hearts, they know my love was true and strong and enduring, while they played me for a fool, and even my capricious trickster gods had to shield their eyes and shake their heads, because the Tanya never, ever fucking quit. So when my time comes, sighs, I will be met by dozens of cats and birds and a few dogs and a horse named Asphiloth, by former comrades of heart, by ancestors who truly loved me and had my back. I rebuke those evil ones from now to the rest of eternity. And by beloved friends who stood by me through thick and thin, and my spirit shall rejoice into the next horizon beyond all worlds. Dancing through the Sephiroth, gladness in all the universes. A love denied me in this incarnation that will be all I ever dreamed of in the next blossoming. Thank you, Eternal One, all that is, was, and ever shall be, and a tiny little spirit named Tanya. Welcome home, wherever that is. Oh, and maintain the rage. 12:56 p.m. Feeling lightheaded, woozy, weak. I have a sense that someone is actively betraying me right now. Nothing new there. It will be revealed. Whom has their knife in my back? I rebuke their negativity and return it to them to the power of 10. Walking between worlds, between life and death, has its little superpowers, even as my body declines. My friend Kellyanne wrote, well, it's not me, I promise. But then I literally got no time for that kind of crap these days anyway. Think you're pretty safe from me. Fucking awful society lets victims down again and again and again, then blames and punishes us for being disheartened as a result of the effects of other people's sins have had on us, as if we imagine it all. So fucked up. And I reply, we shall rise and shine again. And my friend Laura Martin wrote, it's not me, I promise. I've been too busy defending myself against the relentless psychic attacks from my brothers. I'm literally washing my hands of them. I do not have the time or energy for this shit. I'm beginning my life anew, letting go of all negative energies and focusing only on my lovely supportive friends and family members who love and support me through thick and thin, sending you much love and healing energies. And I replied, I am not blaming or shaming anyone. This illness has been spiritually purgative. I found out who my real friends and family are. I sense betrayal, but as I said, I do not know from which source. Maybe it is my own body betraying me bit by bit as I slip into the etheric field. I have a strange pain in my coccyx, which often hurts after major surgery. Odd. Why I laughed just then is there's a man going past with a young little, sweet little dog. Looks like one of those cavoodles or, fluffy little thing. And as he was going past on the side of my garden, the little dog was fighting with him, even putting its little paws and being dragged, wanting to come to my gate. There's some powerful magic here at Sacred Space where all the little dogs that, I haven't met that dog before, that's why I was laughing, fall in love with me, and they just want to come to my gate, and they'll even do this on the fence and fight to get my attention and want me to say hellos. Coco used to do it, but there's another two little black fluffy dogs that are the same. But I've met the other two little dogs, but this little sweetie was also, I need to go to that house. So you see, the love I've poured into this garden and this land and this house, and invoking, by the way, the protection of the fairy realms, means the animals and the birds just almost addicted to me. It's delightful, but a bit humorous at times. I sat for a few hours to post beaded window fascinators on Instagram, then felt so utterly weak. So I'm up and back in bed. Best place for me, my sacred safe place. I heard the word trust a few minutes ago. So I'm being told to trust in my higher power, that I will heal and that I am loved and protected. But healing can also mean relinquishing this body and entering the light. I have fought so damn long for every aspect of my existence, as a woman, as a mother. Well, what the fuck was that all about? As a daughter, as a friend, occasionally as a lover. Again, what the actual fuck? and as a member of a diseased, woman-hating, corrupt society. In all paradigms, I fought for love, for honour and integrity, for safety, for freedom. I have failed to gain even the basic requirements for thriving on this planet, yet a mighty power has kept me alive, sustained me through the charity and social justice of others, and even brought me a time in my life when I was no longer silenced. That same power brought even former evil, vicious partners to crawl at my feet, actually thumping on my front door. Trapped between dimensions, he could not cross over without one last goodbye, and now has the chutzpah to tell me, 8 years later, that he's still trapped until such time as I invite a true lover into my life, as if he has control over my love life, the dead fuck knuckle. No one holds that power over me but me and God, and or the gods and all manifestations. Certainly no dead evil ex-lover spirit, by the way. I had prayed for years for redemption from my enemies, that my personal star should rise again and shine. Now the shining is diminishing. I've lost my health and strength and vitality. No, I will not forgive you, motherfucker. Go away. Sorry, but it's just rude. I accept the din, the fate, and by that I mean if I have to stay alone for the rest of my life because of some evil spirit wanting to interfere in my love life that he has no right to do so, then so be it. That's the price I will pay. I'm perfectly okay with it. I don't want him choosing my lover for me or my partner after the train wreck he did to me in this life. Are you kidding me? By the gods. By the way, he was set up to be involved with me by my mother and her con artist at that time boyfriend, Angela Rosalie. So why would I want him choosing my life love partnership for me in my future? Like, what drugs is he still on that he even thinks he has a right to do that? Fuck off and keep fucking off. I have lived long enough to witness my own blood kick me when I was already in battle mode. Even this I forgive. She never had a normal mother, and I lived through extremely dangerous, perniciously evil times. If I survive long enough from this current illness and brokenness, I will have to make major changes. Too many have viciously attacked me for no good reason, but they were envious of my love and my light. Dave, Tisha, Karen, all of them, am I right? Idiots. Since early childhood, I have love and my light. Since early childhood, I have endured this. Now it is enough, and I am done. Only time and the gods can heal me now. And Louise Winton wrote, I send my love. How much more of this goes on? Quite a lot. It's a very long video today, very, very long. Right. we're going to stop here because it's too long. We're 3 hours and 24 minutes and I need to get Charlie's food and water in and put her to bed soon. And I need a little break from this because it's very emotionally weeping and welting, as you can imagine. And I need to make a cup of tea and clear my throat. And what else do I need to do? Before we finish, I'll finish off 2019. There's a photo of Beauregard with Charlie. Here she is, my little Charlie at the foot of the chair. He's, by the gods. Here's, I write here, my other dog tour, who was actually a cat. Penny. Yes. Laura Martin wrote, I'm sure they are both much better than the humankind. Indeed they were. More loyal, more loving, and more determined at times. They take pretty good care of me, I replied. I just went out to buy cat food at Pet Barn. I also bought myself a pizza, the first junk food in 2 weeks. I probably ate too much too. It was a big effort going to the shops, but I took Bobo for a walk from one end to the other. I thought a bit of a walk might revive me. Now home safe, drinking a nice hot cup of tea, enduring. I'll finish off 2019 in the next video because it's just too long and I'm, as I said, need to break this up. So, see you soon for part 2 of 6th of July 2024. And as I said, thank you for accompanying me on my journey and bearing witness to my writings and my truth. Bye for now.